in the latest episode of Rings of Power. We didn't have the Harfoot storyline, but I feel like the Dwarf storyline cut against it. I really feel like it didn't matter. It didn't do anything. It's so confusing how the rings work. The decline of King Durin with his ring, it was so like immediate. It makes absolutely no sense. Like all of a sudden he's greedy and he's gonna lead his people to Durin's Bane. Clearly they are so setting that up, and it's so forced and contrived, and everyone's just whipping around and quick traveling everywhere across the map. Next, Disa kisses the Balrog. You know what? The dwarf storyline is really bothering me too, and that's another thing that they keep winking at the Balrog. I'm having the same issues like with the Harfoot wizard storyline. It's so unnecessary. It's not done well as far as the transformation of King Durin once he has the ring on. Everything's got to happen immediately. We can't just spend some time living in this world and establishing events and characters and proper organic choices and storylines. Everything has to happen immediately. And so I don't even know, like, do they think that this show is going to end as well? So we got to get all the rings made? Is the one ring going to be made in the last episode? It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me if the last ring was made. And then that's the show. The show's done. All the rings of power were made. That's all we need. But the dwarf storyline, it's like the same thing as with the Gandalf thing, that they keep going out of their way to wink that this is Gandalf, that this is, oh, the grand elf. Oh, he's a grand elf and he has to look for his Gand. Wink, wink. And he has to learn the ways of being a servant of the secret fire. Wink, wink. Like every time. And every time with the dwarves, it's like they keep winking at the Balrog being down there and waking him up. Or he's already awake, clearly, but they keep winking at that. Instead of just telling the story that's happening right now, they have to wink about something that's gonna happen, that we know is gonna happen. Now we finally know where the Balrog got his famous blaster pistol. And Durin had to stop the entire army because Daddy was digging in the mine. And that's another thing too that I feel really cut the momentum of what little they had of this episode going for it. They cut away to Durin and he's rallying his troops, the army, to go help Elrond. And so Elrond came earlier and he told him the situation. And he's like, my father's, like, I'm about to go overturn the throne or something. I'm about to seize the throne from my father. And so things are rough right now. So he wasn't sure. I guess he promised him that he would come. So there was that. And then he went to rally the troops. I don't even think we had a proper battle cry for the Siege of Eregion for the elves with Elrond and Gil-galad. I don't think we had a moment where they started the battle outright and had a little moment or whatever, a speech or something. So Durin had the speech. He's the one that we cut away from that, and then Durin has this moment where he's saying, let's go help our friends, and we're known for our loyalty, if anything. So he rallies everyone, and then we cut to Prince Durin, who's like all dressed up and nowhere to go apparently now, because he comes out and he sighs. I don't even know why he sighed. He comes out and he just does a sigh. Okay, off to war, I guess. And then Narvi, the dwarf, the one that helped make the Doors of Durin, he's saying his father's going crazy. Apparently King Durin is going crazy off screen. He's going crazy. He's going back into the mine, and Prince Durin is all dressed up to war and no war to go to because he's got to deal with this now. And again, just completely cuts the momentum. And again, Prince Durin is just seen or depicted as just this impotent person. Like he can't. He is always undercut. Most of the male characters are always just completely bastardized, and everyone is just undercut for events to happen. They are minimized, they look stupid, or they look powerless and weak. And for Prince Durin, he keeps doing that. They keep doing that to him. And Disa's the one like having to push him around and get him to do what she wants. I never remember having a problem with Disa in season 1, but in this show, like they have her keep doing like weird things, like her bat powers. She has the power to sing and summon bats to do her bidding. And she's the one that discovered that there's a Balrog under there somewhere, and don't like their dynamic at all. And the dwarfs again just seem to be serving and to just wink at the Balrog situation, to just wink at events that don't take place in this age. And there's so much that you can be doing that the dwarves are doing right now, but you don't want to tell those stories. You want to wink at what's going to come later. Having two Durins at the same time is pushing it, but now having strife between the two Durins, concurrent Durins, that's again so unnecessary. The showrunners at every opportunity choose to disrupt the lore for no reason. There is no reasons for most of their lore deviations. There's no good reason. And you can't say that it's, oh, well, it's a dense story, it's time compression, oh, they're making stuff up. No, they go out of their way to bastardize the lore, to bastardize Tolkien's characters. What bugs me about Papa Durin's ring fever is that the ring makes him personally greedy, which kind of misses the point. Oh yeah, and it gives you superpowers, apparently. The way they depict the rings at all, it's very like Deus Ex Machina. They just do the things that the plot needs it to do. They need the rings, the Dwarven rings, to be seen as bad, because that's the whole reason for Celebrimbor to want to redeem himself with the creation of the 9 rings. And again, everything's just happening so fast, and a lot of things are happening off screen, and none of this feels organic or natural to the characters' motivations, because we're not spending enough time with any one storyline and any one character and location, because we're just jumping around so much. The last episode, we saw Arondir for like a minute. He's like literally just running through the forest, and he comes across some orcs and he finds a map. What is with the finding of random maps to exactly what you need to know at that moment? I don't know. Arondir just can't track the orcs. He just can't track them or hunt them based on, footprints and them clearly like making the way through the forest and seeing any of those signs. No, he's got to find a map that tells them where they're going to be. So he finds a map, and then we never see him again. He's literally there for like a minute, and we don't see Isildur in that episode, I don't think. So like, how are we going to wrap this up? How are they going to do this? Because I don't think Siege of Reykjavik is finished yet, and we also haven't seen Isildur for a while. I mean, not that I'm complaining. I don't like that storyline. Or Theo. I'm not complaining about not seeing Theo. But what was the purpose? What was the purpose of Isildur's story in this season? I don't get it. I don't see it. It was just to meet a random woman that they could ship with? For Arondir, what's his purpose? Like, I thought there was something there that he was trying to connect with Bronwyn's son. They interacted a couple times and then never again. What is the journey for these characters? What is the purpose? What are they doing? It's just a random collection of scenes and characters, and there's no real meaning to anything. Lore aside, the show is so badly written that I wonder if no fans can enjoy it. That's what I was saying about the characters. Like, that has nothing to do with lore, but we're just like jumping around so much. There is nothing organic that is happening. Everything is so contrived and so forced. It's just everything unfolds because that's what the writers want in that moment. Siege of Reykjavik happens in this episode, so we gotta make it happen. Even if it doesn't make sense. Even if it doesn't make sense for Sauron to have Lord the Orcs there. It doesn't make sense. Nobody demands 100% lore accuracy, just decent writing and a comprehensible story that is loyal to the core of Tolkien's writing. I think there could have been some forgiveness when it comes to changes, because Peter Jackson made changes. It was in service to the adaptation. It was in service to the film format to transform this dense story into a feature film length. And I think he did a very good job, and ultimately it was accessible for everyone, fans and general audiences alike. You can sense the care and love for the source material and its characters, and it got the main things ultimately right. And I think that fans are forgiving in that regard. They can sense that. We can sense that Peter Jackson was sincere in his efforts to adapt what Tolkien wrote, for the Lord of the Rings especially, and there were some changes, but again, overall, I think fans were understanding of those changes and adapting it to that specific medium. Because, I mean, ultimately, yeah, I would love a very long format television series of it, but for films, they are objectively perfect, I would say.